22. The Athletic reports that Rocket star James Harden would like to be traded to Brooklyn or Philadelphia. According to The Athletic, the report says the Rockets aren't in a hurry to trade Harden or Russell Westbrook. The 2021 NCAA tournament will likely be held in one metropolitan area, likely Indianapolis.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's time for the Rundown with Rob Sanders.
Welcome into the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us this afternoon as we get started on a week of changes. Yes, big changes coming for the South Carolina football program. I want to welcome in my co-host buddy from the fifth quarter postgame show on our sister station, News Radio 560 WVOC 103.5 FM as well, Justin Hall. Justin, what's going on, buddy? How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty well. Not too busy. Masters was great yesterday. Other than that, pretty quiet Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I'm out trying to update my blog pages. I'm fishing with my children. So, yeah, that was interesting to say the least. But I tell you what, man, this is something we talked a lot about on the fifth quarter postgame show with, it just seemed like after that loss to Ole Miss where – the defensive guru coach had a defense out there that just looked just completely outmatched, that it seemed like Will Muschamp's days would be numbered. I thought, though, from my perspective, why not just save the money? And I fully stand behind that now. South Carolina should save the money and kept him until the end of the season. What have you got to gain from it? But I was kind of shocked that he was let go yesterday. Are you in the same boat, or did you think that the time was right and, hey, let's just clean the slate now?
Well, there's a couple of different ways you can look at it. Number one, I think it was time. You have to look at it from this perspective. You're going to have to pay him the money. Now, what I believe has happened is that some boosters and donors may have stepped up and said, hey, we'll put a little bit of it, and that's why they went ahead and made the move now. But if you wait till the end of the year or end of the season, which this year would be December the 5th, not the normal last week in November, you're behind the eight ball. You have the early signing period at middle of December. How palatable is it to be looking for candidates while you still have a coach in place? I don't know how great that look is. So I was shocked that it unfolded as quickly as it did. I was starting to get some text messages around 11:30 to about noon of like, hey, there's some smoke here. I don't know if there's a real big fire. And then as the day went on, it just more and more, it appeared that was taking place. The details of how it came about, I have my own opinions on. Nothing confirmed, but I certainly think that it was something that had to happen after the performance from the defense on Saturday night.
I agree with you. It's just that I just feel like you've already asked Don Staley, a national championship winning coach, to take a pay cut. You've asked Frank Martin to take a pay cut. And then you're going to pay Will Muschamp $13 million to sit at home. The look on that just doesn't work, especially when you look towards the upstate with Clemson, with the nationally relevant power program, cutting track and field, Furman cutting baseball due to COVID-19. I just don't think that financially that decision makes the most sense. But apparently there's a bean counter somewhere that said, look, if we do this and get rid of him here, we'll end up with more over here. Long term, maybe it works out better. But just on the short term, wow, I was just stunned by that just because of the finances of it.
Sure.
But respectfully, though, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Justin, but respectfully, if I'm Will Muschamp and you're going to fire me, then you're going to pay me. That's the contract that you was signed. I don't know anyone that signs any kind of contract that says, hey, if you want to get rid of me before the end of it, you better pay me. I don't feel. I guess my mentality on that is that he's going to get what he got written up for.
Well, I mean, okay, so if it's 13, the widely known number is 13.5.
Right.
So if they spread that down, I'm not saying they put $3 million off of it. I'm saying maybe it was from 13.5 to 12.75. You know, it might not be a very big number.
Right.
Now, if I'm on the other side of that table, I want that. I want that couple of grand. I want that money. I was bad enough to get it, so I want it. So whether they reach out or not, I'm going to perspective that maybe there's some outside money that's coming in to help put that bill.
Okay.
I don't foresee South Carolina being in a situation where they haven't gotten that point yet, and then have it lesson with the track and field. Every school handles this stuff differently.
Right.
It may come to that point at some point. I would be very, very sad to know that this is the reason that happens down the road, if that makes any sort of sense. And I feel like if it's the case, if South Carolina would eventually have to slash, I don't know, next 4 years, then immediately people are going to go, well, you paid $13 million, that's got to go away.
The optics look bad.
Not to mention how many assistant coaches have been paid to go away at this year as well.
Right.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation financially. Like you said, there's a bean counter somewhere that said if we can move the money this way and this way and this way, it should work. But when it comes to further down the line, 2 or 3 years, if you're just looking at the football program, this is a move that had to be made, and it had to be made quickly in order for you to salvage something into December for a coaching search.
Let me ask you this, and Jimmy's asking this online too. Do you know what the difference is between firing him now and at the end of the season? I mean, we talked about the recruiting end of it, but just from the financial end, how much money did it cost the Gamecocks to go through this 3-game set with Mike Bobo as their head coach instead of Will Muschamp? Do you know?
I don't know right offhand, and so I don't want to speak and say one way or the other. So I don't know the specific language of the contract. Based on what I heard Ray Tanner say today, I don't think it meant anything. I think you were still going to have to pay him the same amount at the end of this year, or at the end of the season, than you would have now. I think the calendar year is where it changed.
Okay.
After January 1st, I think that's when the number went down. Again, we can go back to the huge misstep after the 2017 season and give him this buyout when no one wanted him. That's one thing. But I don't think the number changed until after we turned the calendar to 2021. And by then it's too late. You can't make a coaching change then.
All right, so we move on from that. There, by the way, I don't know if you know about this or not, Justin, but there is a game this week. Mizzou is coming to town. I don't know if you knew about that or not. I just did an interview with the Mazzodcast, and we talked a lot about the Missouri and South Carolina game. Mizzou's coming into this game, and it's been when they play on Saturday. Their last game was 3 weeks ago. So, I mean, they've had basically 3 byes to get prepped for this matchup. They should come in completely healthy. It should be an interesting matchup. And one of the interesting things that I noticed was the Las Vegas line started out with South Carolina as a 1.5-point favorite before Muschamp got fired. Muschamp gets fired. Now Mizzou is a 6-point favorite. So I guess Will Muschamp buys you 5 points.
That South Carolina would suddenly turn the tide these last 3 games of the season. I think Missouri is a better football team than South Carolina is right now, and I'm not surprised that line has increased. The good thing for Missouri is hopefully everything is in line for them to be able to play. Obviously, these last couple of weeks have been COVID-related, so hopefully everything's still intact. We've already seen that Texas A&M has had to postpone another game, this one with Ole Miss, because of their own issues. So hopefully that's the only one this weekend. I really want to see this Missouri-South Carolina matchup on Saturday.
I'm looking forward to it, and Coach Drinkowitz getting his second chance in Williams-Brice Stadium. Last season took in Appalachian State and was able to win over the Gamecocks. We'll see what happens with Mizzou. Getting back to the coaching end of it, though, before we let you go here, Justin Hall from the Fifth Quarter Postgame Show on our sister station, 103.5 FM WVOC. You know, there's the big thing is everyone wants Hugh Freeze, and of course he just signed a contract with Liberty. You know, they didn't put out, since they're a private college, they don't have to put out how much they're paying him, but he signed through 2026. If he comes here, it's going to cost, I would think, a good bit to get him to leave Liberty and come back into the SEC. Am I the only one that thinks it's a pipe dream that Hugh Freeze ends up here?
I think he's your first call.
We shouldn't. You shouldn't. Right.
If he's your first choice, you've got to make a call to the SEC office. You've got to make a call to the SEC because while he doesn't have a no-show clause penalty as I know it, the SEC might not want him. That's a legitimate thing. So if Greg Sankey says no, then I'll the next one.
Right.
But if he's your first call, then if he's your guy, whether you want him to be or not, we criticized Ray Tanner quite a bit for not being able to go out and get his guy originally in the last hiring search. So if this guy, go out and try to get him. I don't care about the contract. I don't really think it means much other than you just kind of pay more to get him out of the contract. Now, if you're South Carolina, you got to $13 million to a guy you just booted onto the side of the road, so to speak. Do you try to go get somebody at a lower price tag and put the coordinators around them? I think that might be a better approach to how you want to build the job out. Hugh Freeze, if he's hired by South Carolina, will be in South Carolina for 3, maybe 4 years, and then he'll move on. Whether that's NCAA violation related or whether that's, hey, he was really great there, boom, he gets another job. I think he would literally use it as a parlay into a bigger job. So are you looking for 4 years of success, or are you looking for somebody to be here 7, 8, 9, 10 years like Steve Spurrier was before Will Muschamp?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I just think that, everybody and their brother's like, hey, Hugh Freeze this, Hugh Freeze that. And I think I posted something this morning on Facebook. Look, Hugh Freeze, what he got in trouble for was not good. I mean, if you look at the long list of stuff, Ole Miss is still paying for what he did years ago. And let's not forget to mention that he got caught on his university phone making calls to escort services. If that's the kind of guy that you want coming to your program, I got nothing. I mean, I really don't. I mean, I think he is, when you look at him, he's like the perfect example as far as someone that's just an absolute no hire to me. I mean, you can't hire him, in my opinion, if you value what you're supposed to value, which is, hey, winning games is important, but we're trying to build young men as well. I think that's just a disaster, in my opinion.
Well, and I think, too, Ray Tanner mentioned that in his press conference today, that everything was going well in this regime except for winning games. He specifically said that kids are graduating, off campus, we're doing things the right way in the classroom as well. It's just we didn't win enough. And so what his point was, the next coach who comes in here is going to have a really solid base to build on in that aspect because of Will Muschamp. So if you bring in somebody who's very antithetical to that in what we're discussing with Hugh Freeze, then you're going to have to answer to that. There's going to be a lot of questions. I think Josh Kendall was the one who immediately, like point blank, is Hugh Freeze one of your people? And he wouldn't commit to it, obviously, smartly. If you bring him in, I think it goes against what you're praising Will Muschamp for. He is an offensive guy compared to a defensive guy, but also I think you leave some of the straight-laced NCAA track record stuff out of the window. You kind of get rid of that with Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, I'm with you completely on that. But, I mean, if you're not going to go the Hugh Freeze route, I mentioned Dave Clawson the other night. There are names flying out by the handful. I've seen everything from Jamie Chadwell at Coastal Carolina. Someone said that there was a rumor that Urban Meyer was on campus today. I mean, it's just one thing after, and we're going to have that these coming weeks with who's here and who's not. Do you think South Carolina is going to go with the older school guy like an Urban Meyer? I'm not saying Urban Meyer, but a guy that's of that ilk, meaning made his bones somewhere else. Or are they going to go with the younger guy like a Jamie Chadwell at Coastal Carolina? I mean, if you had your spot on as the guy that could pick, which way would you go?
I'm not going with Urban Meyer simply because of the same reason about Hugh Freeze.
Right, but I mean, just older coach is what I'm going after.
With an older coach, if it were my choice, Rob, and to those of you who are listening / watching, if I had to pick it, it would be somebody like that. Maybe hasn't gotten that head coaching job before, but very confident
Right.
Believe in him. They bought into him, ranked number 15 in the country. So you want a guy, one of those two, younger, I should say. You surround them with talented coordinators who can recruit the state and recruit the area around them. South Carolina should look to be winning 8, maybe 9 games a year right now. It might take a few years to get back to that, but that's your goal. Those are two guys who can do it, and they can do it consistently, and they can do it for more than 5 or 6 years. If you go with somebody who's an older, more established coach, you might not have them for as long, and the leash would be shorter. You've got to look ahead 3, 4, 5 years down the road when you're making this hire as well.
Final couple of questions here with Justin Hall from the Fifth Quarter Postgame Show on WVOC, our sister station across the hall. You know, one of the things that, and I keep calling him Coach Tanner because that's who he is. But the athletics director, Ray Tanner, down at the university said is that Mike Bobo would be one of the candidates for the job. Do you think that's just quote unquote coach speak?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, even if it's a 3 games, Rob, you can't convince me that anyone from the staff should still be on the payroll in 2021. If you make a head coaching change, why would you just promote from within? It just doesn't make any sense, basically.
Right. Yeah.
So, but while Mike Bobo is a great person, play caller, and you've seen the difference in the offense. We mentioned it on Saturday night. You have pounded this drum for a while. It's the defense. This defense is just a problem for the last 2 years, and a main problem for the last 2 years, and they really haven't been great any of the years he's been here. So I just don't see Bobo being a legitimate candidate for the job, and honestly, I don't think he would even want it.
Well, there's that. And final question, and this is the question that's going to anger some Gamecock fans. One of the first things that came out from President Caslen last night was that Ray Tanner is going to get to hire the new head coach. Are you on board with that? Because, I mean, let's be honest. I don't know. Coach Tanner is getting up there. I'm not saying that he's old. I don't want him coming down here yelling at me to run laps around the diamond. But you would have to think that Coach Tanner is in the twilight of his career. Do you think that's the right move to let Coach Tanner hire the new replacement?
Well, he's still the city director, so technically he would be the one to sign off on it. But he also mentioned something very interesting today, that his direct report is to Bob Kaplan as the president. My opinion, and this isn't confirmed, my feeling is that President Kaplan is going to be heavily involved with this coaching search.
Right.
Who is tabbed as the head coach. Ray Tanner will conduct the search. They might hire a firm, yada, yada, yada. But Bob Kaplan is going to be very, very close to this search. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's in on some interviews. And really, if you want to put a ratio on it, it might be more 70-30, his decision to Ray Tanner's. I think this next hire is Caslen's guy more so than it is Ray Tanner's guy.
You know, he did turn it around at Army, where they were really, really bad. And then under his watch, they got Army back to the point where Army looks to win 8 to 10 games every year. So I kind of agree with you on that front. But that kind of hit me a little bit last night, that because I thought that in my mind that Ray Tanner would kind of go with Will Muschamp. May wait until the end of January or whatever, but just the vote of confidence with Coach Tanner getting to make the decision was. I mean, I guess I see where you're coming from. He's the sitting athletic director, but just kind of hit me in the face just a little bit. So I guess the only thing we have now is, how will this Gamecock team respond? Are they going to pack it in, or are they going to, I mean, do they really want to fight for a guy who wasn't on the coaching staff 8 months ago?
What's really interesting is the players they brought into that and 2 of them were transfers.
Who was that? I can't remember who it was. It was Colin, yeah, the two guys from Colorado State, yeah.
Yeah, so Mike Bobo's guys, I think it's a very interesting dynamic right now in that in that locker room. You elevate Connor Shaw to an on-field position, which I think is great. I think he'll be good for the quarterbacks. You got a guy who's played for the university staff finally for a little bit. I don't know, Rob. Just you can't base stuff on social media, but from what the players were retweeting and liking and posting on their Instagram, they're not pleased. They're not happy. Listen, and you shouldn't. And if you're a player, you shouldn't be, because who you got recruited by is no longer there, and you had a chance to fight for your guy and win some games, or at least play better, and you didn't. So he's gone. And so I think partially you feel responsible. South Carolina's not going to win the games, in my opinion, but I don't know if that means they're going to pack it in. I think they're just going to look the same as they've looked the last 7 weeks.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how that floats out. Of course, we will have all of it for you on the fifth quarter post-game show on our sister station, WVOC. And I know this sounds silly, but I'm looking ahead with everybody eligible for a bowl game. This may be a year that South Carolina opts out if they're offered. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how that's going to work out. We still got to work out the postseason end of it, but just so many questions that are out there.
No question, plenty of questions. But if you do have a question, I just saw Ryan Haslett tweeted for students that he's going to have open office hours. His door's going to be open this week to talk about their semester and how it's going. So maybe we need to put a camera out there to see if any sort of coaches get in line to speak with Bob Caslin.
Okay, terrific. That's a mess, my friend. All right, so folks can find you on Twitter. Where? Join us and, of course, former Gamecock wideout Tim Frisbee as we break it down for you on Saturday night. Justin, thanks for joining the program today, man. I really appreciate it. All right, there you go. Justin Hall from the fifth quarter postgame show as we talk about the ending of a football era with Will Muschamp, 28-30 overall at South Carolina. We'll take calls on it, man. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Who do you want? Who do you not want? I mean, I've got my set of who I would want and who I think is an absolute non-starter for me, just in my opinion. Talk about that when we come back. You're listening to The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Be right back.
Xfinity has that include it factor because all of your seasonal essentials are already, you guessed it, included. From a full plate of family-style TV to cooking worth drooling over, it's included. Holiday jams like iHeart Christmas and North Pole Radio from iHeartRadio to blast throughout the house, it's included. Plus, during Free TV Week, November 24th to the 30th, even more with award-winning hits from premium networks. Some of you just got it, and you've got it all included. Simply say free to me to your X1 voice remote.
At the Home Depot, we improve things. This holiday season, we've improved Black Friday. Instead of one day of crazy, we've lowered prices now, and they'll stay low all season. From decorations to dishwashers, wreaths to ratchet sets. So sleep in. You're not going to miss Black Friday. Not one little bit. Black Friday improved. Best prices of the year already here at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. U.S. only while supplies last. See store for details.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance, so you'll only pay for what you need.
As a minimalist, paying less for insurance is more.
Nice place. Is your house a bubble?
It's a dome. I find corners unnecessary.
At Liberty Mutual, that's how we feel about overpaying for insurance.
But I do miss having shelves.
What would you put on them?
Nothing, obviously.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Welcome back to The Rundown. Follow Rob on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good.
Welcome back to The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me here today. Appreciate you supporting our fine station here, Teddy Hefner, on in the morning from 9 to noon. And, of course, Clemson Sports Talk with the czar of Clemson Sports, Lawton Swan, joining you this afternoon from 4 to 6 to take you home. That's what we offer here for you. Some, I'm like I'm like in the middle of the sandwich, I guess. You got the two great shows and then mine in the middle. I'm like the buffer in between, I guess. That's the best way to look at it. But Teddy Hefner in the morning, 9 to noon, and Lawton Swan in the afternoon from 4 to 6. By the way, I wanted to put out something here. You know, we talk about who you want and who you don't want. And, of course, you can call in at 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you want to join the rundown. And everybody's first pick is, well, they want Hugh Freeze after what he's done with Liberty. And I wanted to go back to 2017 and why he resigned from Ole Miss. He averaged 7 wins a season at Ole Miss, and that's great. So, but he resigned effective immediately in July of 2017 with Matt Luke taking over. But basically, he had $2 million left on his contract, and he had to resign because of what had happened. And what had happened was he had issues where he was calling an escort service from his university phone. And with that, the note says a 1-minute call made from Freeze's university-issued phone to a number associated with a female escort service. That's one of the things. Freeze claimed that was a misdial, but ended up resigning. Of course, he admitted to the misconduct with Ole Miss. And I'm not saying people can't fix what they've done in the past, but I mean, we're talking, what, three years ago? Man, I'd like to think he went to Liberty and he's doing the right thing. But do you really want that if you're a South Carolina fan? I had a friend of mine that is an ardent Gamecock supporter, is one of the most conservative people that I know, and point blank put out on Facebook for the world to see, we'll deal with that. We'll deal with paying players. That's what other teams do. We just want to win. I don't think that's the way you need to go. So for me, I think that Hugh Freeze is an absolute no in my mind. The first person you should go look at is Dave Clawson at Wake Forest. And that's a name that Gamecock fans are like, oh, he coaches at Wake Forest. Yeah, he's a good coach, builds programs, and he'll win games. And why will he win games? Because he comes in with a little bit different philosophy. He comes in with a little bit of a different type of offense that if he gets some players, he's going to be fine. I think that's kind of the way to go, in my opinion. That would be my I don't want this guy, but I'd want that guy. But everybody and their brother's looking at Hugh Freeze. Now, another name could be Steve Sarkisian at Alabama. My problem with Sarkisian is, he's had the issues where he's dealt with alcoholism. I'd like to think people can get over that. But he is I hate to use the term, but a retread. He's already tried. And it ended up not working out well for him. So Steve Sarkisian's an interesting name. Jamie Chadwell down at Coastal Carolina. Let's remember, he coached at Charleston Southern. They had some issues too. And it's, no one's going to have a completely clean slate. I get that. But the adage that it should be Hugh Freeze or bust, to me, is just like, ugh. And like Justin said, he'll be here 3 years at best. I fully believe that. I think it's better to go and get a younger guy. Was it Billy Napier? That would be an interesting guy to go and get. Welcoming back Sean Elliott. Why not? 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call. If you'd like to join us on the rundown this afternoon, coming up this week, Wes Bryant from the ACC Digital Network joins us on tomorrow. Tomorrow, man. Yeah, he joins us tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, Brendan Anthony from the Mazodcast joins us to preview the Mizzou Tigers and how they're spinning the football up there at Mizzou. Very good under Coach Eli Drinkowitz. So we'll get into that on Wednesday. Thursday, Terrence Oglesby, former Clemson Tiger, will talk with us a little basketball because we're getting to the point where basketball season's almost here. I think a lot of Gamecock fans are they're ready for basketball. But we'll talk basketball this week with Terrence Oglesby. Big announcement, the NCAA tournament's going to be played pretty much in Indianapolis, all 13 regional sites. So we'll get into that and a lot more on the rundown. That's the schedule for up this week. More of the rundown in just a moment. We come back on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Here's another $1,000 grand in your hand winner.
Oh my gracious, so fabulous. Wow. I never win anything. Oh my gosh. That is awesome. Thank you so much. There's no way. OMG, I'm so happy. I got chills. I want to cry. And it couldn't have come at a better time.
Keep listening for 12 chances to win $1,000 every weekday on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
When you get in your car, you need the best directions to get where you want to be.
Arrive at your retirement in 8
The
years.
same is true for your retirement. You need a voice to guide you along the way. Join Pat Struby or save your retirement with Pat Struby. Pat's 18 years of experience can help make your retirement journey feel like a drive down easy street.
Arriving at your retirement.
Saturdays, 6 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio, and Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 9 on 560 WVOC for Save Your Retirement with Pat Struby.
When a community grows, its hospital should grow too. And that's just what we're doing at Lexington Medical Center. We recently launched the largest hospital expansion project in South Carolina history. Our new 10-story patient tower will help us take better care of patients, including the tiniest infants who need special attention. It will also make room for the growing number of patients who need surgery and intensive care. At Lexington Medical Center, our mission to serve our community never wavers. We're here when you need us today, and we'll be there when you need us tomorrow.
This is Doug Gottlieb. Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network.
Presented by All American Heating and Air.
The NCAA will run this year's men's hoops tournament in a bubble. More than a dozen sites will be consolidated into several sites in the Indianapolis area. Injuries have factored for the Panthers this week. Teddy Bridgewater's MRI revealed a knee sprain that may sideline him. Christian McCaffrey's shoulder will keep him out. And the Hurricanes are going way back with their alternate uniform for this season. Canes unveiled a reverse row look that features the Hartford Whalers logo. I'm Scott Davidson.
Kill COVID-19 in your home with the All-American Heating and Air Purifier. The ApcoX whole home air treatment system is now proven to kill COVID-19. Keep your family safe and install an air purifier today. AllAmericanHeatingandAir.com.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Serving Columbia at 1400. And the world on the iHeartRadio app.
Well, welcome back to the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. Appreciate you joining us. A shout out to the folks watching on Facebook Live and on YouTube as well. You can find us on YouTube at Rob Sounds Good. You can find me on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good too. So there you go with that. All right. So one of the other things I thought I'd put out there, some of the good and bad points about the South Carolina job. And, you know, there's a section of folks that think that, you know, maybe no one wants to come to South Carolina. Well, I don't think that's true. I mean, it's an SEC job. You know, let's not forget, what was it, 5-6 years ago? South Carolina was a top 10 team. And it shows you how far things can fall off quickly. But some of the things that are in the mix here, as far as the new coach coming in, how much are the Gamecocks willing to pay this guy? Will Muschamp made $4.6 million, according to my notes. That made him a top 25 paid one of the top 25 most paid coaches in the country, but number 9 in the SEC. Kentucky's Mark Stoops makes more money than Coach Will Muschamp does. So you've also got the other end of they're having to deal with the buyout, which is set about $13 million or so. So he's going to have to get paid that, and you got to throw that into the mix as well. They can probably offer what it would seem like a lot more money to a group of 5 coach, and it would probably go a lot further, in my opinion. But that's the big thing. How much money are they willing to spend? A couple of other notes that I put into the mix. South Carolina's facilities are way up there, man. They opened that new operations center, 110,000 square feet, $50 million facility that a lot of teams just don't have. So you've got that. 20,000 square foot weight room. I mean, everything you could want as far as the facility. The Gamecocks have it there. One of the other things, too, is that what are the expectations at South Carolina? Are you going to be expected to come in and compete for the East? No, I don't think so. I think coming in the first couple of seasons just looking like you're not a team that's in complete disarray. That's something that would go a long way. And then with this recruiting class, can you do and get one player that you flip like Mizzou did with Coach Drinkowitz? They flipped a player from Alabama who was a 3-star prospect that Nick Saban got in on and wanted him to come to Alabama, and the young man decided to go to Mizzou. Can you get something like that on the recruiting trail? Something that's just a spark. That's like, you know what? We still play football here in Columbia. We still care about it, even though the past couple of years we haven't really been that good. Okay? So there's that. I think that's one of the big things that are about that job at South Carolina. And there are a lot of good things with it. But it comes down to the whole cash thing too. How much can they pay somebody? And, they've hired older coaches in the past, and Coach Holtz and Coach Spurrier did great stuff here. But I think it's at the point now where it's like, you know what? Let's get somebody young and try to build from there. That way we're not getting questions 3 years from now. And you don't want the 3-year questions from either side. Either, hey, coach, are you retiring because you're in your 60s? Or, Coach Freeze, you're resigning because you did X, Y, and Z, or this happened under your program. You don't want those calls. In my opinion, the best thing to do is to hire somebody that's young. And I like Dave Clawson a lot. Clawson, I've got to look up his age. I can't remember how old Coach Clawson is. But I think with just his record, with what he's done at Wake Forest, where he's built that program, and they're really good. He's 53, so that's not exactly crazy old, but it's not exactly crazy young either. He's 53 years old, and his record at Wake Forest is, I think it's like 2 games under 500, but his first 2 seasons, they went 3-9, and since then, they've been really good. And Wake Forest has that type of team that nobody really wants to play. So Wake Forest is high. Their coach, Dave Clawson's high on my list here. We'll take calls on who you want and who you don't want. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Jimmy says we need 500 in-conference record. That's not far-fetched. Going into every season, let's just be honest. Going into next year, it wouldn't surprise me if Tennessee was kind of on the outs with Jeremy Pruitt, who I thought was going to be great there, but apparently not. Florida and Georgia are going to be a little bit ahead of everybody, but Mizzou's kind of on the up and up. But I think it's fair to say that South Carolina should be better than or would like to think they could win against Kentucky, I'm talking for next year, win against Kentucky, win against Vanderbilt, and let's say, win against Tennessee. I know those are tough. The Texas A&M game, until they win it, I'm not going to call it for them. And I don't know who their SEC West opponent's going to be. Maybe it's not going to be Ole Miss. Who could it be? Could it be Arkansas? I mean, it's tough. But I think a 500 conference record would be outstanding next year. I really do. But looking at the schedule, I mean, having to play at Mizzou next year, and I think Coach Drink is doing, and that's what they call him. There's Coach Drink, is doing some great stuff up there. But 500 conference record might be tough. But I think in the Gamecock fans' mind, from what I've seen, it's an adage of, well, we're supposed to be better than Kentucky, Mizzou, and Vanderbilt. That's 3 conference wins right there. Throw in Tennessee, who is right now a dumpster fire. That's 4 wins. You're looking at 4-4, and then go from there. That's not that far-fetched. If you could bring in a coach that can do that, that would be outstanding. South Carolina is looking for the Coach Pruitt down Sam Pittman down at Arkansas. That's what you want. The hire that leaves people scratching their heads a little bit, but when he comes in, he just starts knocking it out. Wouldn't you love to have that kind of hire? He looks like he's going to be at Arkansas forever, too. Loves it down there. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown this afternoon on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Hey, don't forget, I've got the notes in front of me here. The Share Your Holiday Food Drive. You can donate safely by texting Share Food to 44321 or visit harvesthope.org. You can drop off stuff. I'm going to be down there live doing my show on December the 3rd at First Baptist Church. I will come out and unload the food from your car. You don't have to touch it. You just wave through your glass. You can do that as we try to take care of the hunger during the holidays. So the Share Your Holiday Food Drive, looking forward to working with that here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Visit harvesthope.org for more information. Or if you're just sitting there and you're listening to the podcast, which you can find every day at 5 o'clock, just text Share Food to 44321 and help out the needy over the holiday season. But I'll be down there on the 3rd of December. I'm going to I'll be down there early in the morning, late in the afternoon, you name it, to help folks out with the Harvest Hope Food Bank. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap it up. You're listening to The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Hey, this is Red.
And Miriam with Absolute Class.
We would like to thank Lexington for voting us the best glass shop in Lexington for 10 years in a row.
Absolute Class specializes in high and auto wash replacement and repair.
We also do home windows,
doors,
tabletops,
shower doors,
mirrors,
storefronts,
and glass.
Glass online at absoluteglass.com.
And remember, if easier, we can do it.
It's beginning to sound a lot like Christmas with the new Roku Stream Bar. It's powerful 4K streaming and premium audio all in one. Get into the spirit with holiday music from iHeartRadio at home by upgrading any TV with cinematic sound. Hear every detail as the front speakers boost volume and clarity while the side speakers fill your room with sound. For a not-so-silent night, listen to all your holiday favorites on iHeart Christmas with iHeartRadio. Roku Stream Bar. Shop now at Roku.com. Happy streaming.
I am Steve Smith Sr., and on my new podcast, Cut to It, we're talking to your favorite athletes.
The New Orleans Saints, Malcolm Jenkins.
How long did it take for you to take that first step to talk to a therapist?
My body felt like it was in fight or flight, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. iHeartRadio's #1 for podcasts, but don't take our word for it. Find Cut to It featuring Steve Smith Sr. on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. As the big voice guy said, appreciate you joining us here on the show. Brent Venables, the Clemson defensive coordinator, was asked about the South Carolina job opening, and he said, quote, whether or not at some point in time you want to be a head coach in the future, right now your focus is all on Florida State and getting ready for that. That's kind of a blunt statement there. That's kind of what I expected from Brent Venables. One of the names that was mentioned on one of several of the websites that are out there. Also, offensive coordinator Tony Elliott, would he want to come to South Carolina? Not saying would he want to make that move? Just saying. I don't know. We'll see how that works out. So interesting stuff there. We're taking your calls this afternoon on who you want and who you don't want. 803-978. 1-832-803-978. 1-832, that is the number to call to join us on the Rundown this afternoon here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Couple of notes. Looks like this weekend for the Carolina Panthers, they may play without their starting quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. He's having some issues with his knee, and they're going to be without the services of their talented running back, Christian McCaffrey, who is dealing with a shoulder injury. Wow. That's kind of tough there for the Panthers. Matt Rule, their head coach, of course, hired Joe Brady from LSU. He went from offensive analyst to coaching at being the offensive coordinator there. Maybe that's another name that could be in the hunt for the South Carolina job. Does he want to take the time to go from being South Carolina or being the in the NFL to going back to college? Now, you talk about young guy. I mean, he's not very old. Talk about young guy. I mean, he's a younger guy, and his offensive systems worked at LSU. It's working with the Carolina Panthers. They're a much better offensive team than I thought they were going to be. He made adjustments when he lost Christian McCaffrey for a good portion of the season. They went at Mike Davis, the former Gamecock running back, did some good stuff there for the Panthers. So another name that's in the mix. One of the other names I thought was interesting was Bill O'Brien, the former general manager / coach for the Houston Texans. Remember, he coached at Penn State, and what he did there was interesting, taking them out of what had happened with the Joe Paterno era and essentially rescuing the program. Now, you may not like what he did at Houston, I think, and by the way, Nuke Hopkins is still laughing at him as he made a circus Hail Mary catch yesterday to help the Cardinals get the win over the Bills. You may not like that, but he was successful in college. So there's that. But you know what? In the end, there's always a list of names, and you don't know where you're going to go or where they're going to end up. I'm sure that Ray Tanner has 5 or 6 guys that he likes. I'm sure that President Caslin has 5 or 6 guys that he likes. Hopefully they'll sit down and they'll play Go Fish, and hopefully 1 or 2 of them will match up. I don't know. The Army coach, Jeff Monaghan, I believe is his name. Is that a name that could be out there? So much to think about as we roll along here. In addition to it being game week, Clemson fans, I know you may be upset out there because I haven't really talked much about Clemson and Florida State. Well, I tell you what, Clemson's a 29-point favorite over Florida State, who's their best player, Marvin Wilson, is not going to play. They've lost receivers that have opted out. They are hey, we're just trying to get through it right now. That's kind of where they are. So not to go crazy here, but that's kind of what I think about that matchup this weekend, and we'll break some of it down. Trevor Lawrence making his return, that's a big deal. He may get up big enough where DJ Uanglehe, because I'm still working on that, man. But yeah, he may get some more time this week. So there's that. In addition to that, by the way, the Iron Bowl is this weekend. Wait, what? Yes, the Iron Bowl is this weekend. I'm so used to it being at the end of the season, and it's not. Alabama and Auburn in the Iron Bowl. You want to talk about torpedoing the college football playoff and the SEC folks that'll, the SEC writers that I've brought into the mix, the ones that have the smoking jackets on down in Birmingham with the Alabama lower back tattoos. Those guys, if Auburn can pick up the win this weekend in the Iron Bowl, and I'm not saying that they will, but I'm just saying if they can pick up that win in the Iron Bowl this weekend, you're looking at an SEC with an Alabama team that lost to Auburn, an Auburn team that's out of the mix because they lost to South Carolina. I think they've got, 2 losses on the season? So they would be completely out of the mix. Texas A&M has a loss on the season to Alabama where they got throat punched. And then you've got a Florida team that lost to Texas A&M. What a mess that would be for the college football playoff committee to iron out. If that happens, you're going to have a lot of these group of 5 teams, the BYUs, the Cincinnatis, teams like that. They're going to be pushing around saying, hey, wait a minute. Why are we not in the college football playoff talk? I mean, do you have to be a Power 5 team to get into it unless you're Notre Dame? That's going to be what comes out of this, as that is a pivotal matchup this weekend for the college football playoff, because if Auburn picks up that win, so many things come into the mix, because then that puts a little pressure on Alabama. They've got to go into the SEC championship game, and they've got to beat a Florida team, which is projected who they'll have to play. I think the one-loss SEC champion goes, but the idea of two teams from the SEC could fall by the wayside. So, yeah, I don't think you'll have that second team if Alabama loses this weekend. So, big matchup there. In addition to that, of course, we've got the Mike Bobo Bowl, which is I mentioned that earlier today to somebody. Mike Bobo wants another coaching job. He needs to pull these guys out and see if they can pick up a win over Missouri. If not, I think it's a first quarter game. What I mean by that is first quarter is the rest of the season. If Mizzou comes out with their young, talented quarterback and score on the first 2 possessions, this team may be like, man, why are we doing this? I mean, what's the deal here? I don't know. We'll see how that works out for us this weekend with South Carolina. Justin Hall did bring up something interesting today. In that press conference, the two of the 3 players that were there were Colorado State transfers, guys that played for Coach Mike Bobo before. So, yeah. Is that team going to rally behind Mike Bobo? We'll find out. First quarter Saturday night, we'll know. Kickoffs at 7:30 by 8:15. I will tweet out on Twitter what I think. Are they really playing for him hard or not? That's going to be the next thing. Or is it a wash and we should just look forward to next season? Home finales next week with Georgia. On the road after that at Kentucky. Not really feeling those 2 games. Maybe they can sneak up on this Mizzou team. Mizzou is a 6.5-point favorite now, as everyone is flocking to Mizzou. Don't forget, follow me on Twitter. I'm at Rob Sounds Good. You can also catch some of our other shows. Teddy Hefner's on in the morning from 9 to noon. Lawton Swan is on from 4 to 6 o'clock with Clemson Sports Talk on the vast Clemson Sports Talk radio network. Starting here, we are the crown here at Fox Sports Radio 1400. He's also on 100.1 The Fan in Florence and on 9:20 a.m. in Manning. Be sure to check out Lawton Swan on Clemson Sports Talk this afternoon. He'll have more Clemson talk for you since I talk more about Coach Muschamp leaving the Gamecock program. Also, don't forget the podcast will be up about 5 o'clock if you missed the interview with Justin Hall. Tomorrow, Wes Bryant from the ACC Digital Network joins us to talk football. And on Wednesday, Brennan Anthony from the Mazodcast joins us to talk a little bit about Mizzou and them coming to town. Working on getting some other folks into the mix too. So also Clemson, former Clemson basketball player Terrence Oglesby joins us on Thursday right here at 3 o'clock. All right, as I said, Lawton Swan is next. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for making me a part of your afternoon here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Thanks, guys.